This is a small video on the suturing techniques which are used in oral surgery as well as periodontology and the knots which are taken after the sutures. So let's start. What is an interrupted suture? It is the type of suture which is not continuous and is taken in most of the cases with a break. The indications of interrupted sutures are in case of where the vertical incision is given, in case of tuberosity and the retromolar areas, in case of GTR with that is the bone regeneration procedures, and in case of Wiedemann flaps, in case of normal, that is the open flap curettage, and in case of edentulous area as well. The places where partial or split thickness flap we have taken, we go for interrupted sutures. Also in implant surgeries we go for interrupted sutures. So what are the types of interrupted sutures? If we talk about, they are circumferential sutures, the figure of 8 sutures, the vertical or the horizontal matrix sutures, and the intrapapillary sutures. Talking about the figure of 8 and the circumferential sutures, the suturing is beginning on the buccal surface about 3 to 4 mm from the tip of the papilla so that there is no tearing of the thin papilla. The needle is first inserted onto the buccal surface and then either through the outer epithelial surface in case of figure of 8 suture or into the deeper connective tissue in case of circumferential suture of the lingual flap. The needle is then returned through the embrasure and tied buccally. So this is the figure of 8 suture. Here we can see how it forms an 8, whereas this is a circumferential suture which is going through the deep connective tissue. This is how the circumferential suture looks like. This is the figure of 8 suture, seeing from a cross-sectional view how it looks like. This is called figure of 8 suture because it forms an 8 from the buccal to the lingual flap. Talking about the mattress sutures, the mattress sutures are used for greater flap security and control. They permit more precise flap placement, especially when combined with periosteal stabilization. They also allow for good papillary stabilization and placement. There are two main types of mattress sutures. They are the vertical mattress as well as the horizontal mattress. The vertical mattress, here the flap is stabilized and the needle is inserted about 7 to 10 mm apical to the tip of the papilla. It is then passed through the periosteum, which emerges again from the epithelial surface of the flap, that is 2 to 3 mm from the tip of the papilla. The needle is brought through the embrasure, where the technique is again repeated lingually or palatally. Then the suture is tied buccally. So this is how the vertical mattress sutures looks like in the embrasure area. These both techniques are for the closure of the buccal and the palatal flap tightly in the embrasure areas. Here you can see how the vertical mattress suture look like. Talking about the horizontal mattress sutures, here the needle is inserted about 7 to 8 mm apical to the one side of the midline of the papilla, and it emerges again 4 to 5 mm to the epithelial surface on the opposing side of the maxilla of the midline. The suture here may or may not be brought through the periosteum. The needle is then passed through the embrasure, and the suture, after once being repeated lingually or palatally, is tied in the buccal surface. For greater papillary stability and control, the double parallel strands of this suture can be made to cross over the three tops of the papilla. This is how the horizontal mattress sutures look like. We can see it is going through the horizontal surface only, then we let it pass through the buccal side to the lingual side, and again it is tied on the buccal surface only. The intrapapillary placement, here this technique is recommended for use only with the modified Wiedemann flaps and regeneration procedures in which there is adequate thickness of the papillary tissue. A needle is inserted buccally from 4 to 5 mm from the tip of the papilla, and it is passed through the tissue, emerging from the very tip of the papilla itself. This is repeated lingually and tied buccally, thus permitting the tip-to-tip placement of the flap. This is how the interpapillary suture looks like. Talking about the sling sutures, the sling suture is primarily used for a flap that has been raised on only one side of the tooth, which involves only one or two adjacent papilla. It is most often used in coronally and laterally positioned flaps. This technique involves use of one of the interrupted sutures, which is either anchored above the adjacent tooth or slung around the tooth to hold both the papilla. This is how the single suture above the single tooth looks like. See how you can see the sling suture. Talking about the continuous locking suture, the continuous locking suture is indicated primarily for long edentulous areas, tuberosities, or the retromolar areas. It has an advantage of avoiding the multiple knots or interrupted sutures. If the suture is broken, however, it may completely untie. Technique. This procedure is very simple and repetitive. A single interrupted suture is used to make the initial tie, and then the needle is inserted through the outer surface of the buccal flap and the underlying surface of the lingual flap. The needle is then passed through the remaining loop of the suture, and the suture is pulled tightly, thus it gets locked. This procedure is continued until the final suture is tied off at the terminal end. See, this is how the continuous locking suture looks like in the end. Talking about the knots, how it is tied, it is also an important topic to be known. There are various kinds of knot that is to be known. First of all, we should know what are the parts of a knot. It has three components, like the loop of the knot itself, and the ears that are the terminal end of the suture. The principle of knot tying, if we talk about, it uses the simplest knot that will prevent the slippage, tying the knot as small as possible and cutting the ends of the suture as short as reasonable to minimize the foreign body reaction. It should be tied such a way that it avoids friction or sewing. It should avoid damage to the suture material. It should avoid the excessive tension, and tying the sutures too tightly strangulates the tissue. The maintenance of the traction at one end of the suture after the first loop is thrown to avoid the loosening of the knot. Placing the final throw as horizontally as possible to keep the knot flat. Limiting the extra throws of the knot as they do not add strength to a properly tied knot. So this is how the square knot looks like. It is formed by wrapping the suture around the needle holder once in opposite directions between the ties. Almost 3 ties are recommended. It is best in case of cut, silk, cotton and SS, that is the silk stainless steel sutures. The surgeon's knot, it is formed by 2 throws on the first tie and 1 throw in the opposite direction in the second tie. It is mainly recommended for Vicryl and Marceline. It can be given as 2-1 or 2-2 knots. So this is how the 2-1 knot looks like. This is how the 2-2 surgeon's knot look like. The granny's knot, it is tie in one direction followed by a tie in the same direction and the third tie in the opposite direction to the square knot, and hence it holds permanently. Talking about the suture removal, the skin wounds regain the tensile strength slowly. It can be removed in about 3 to 10 days when the wound is gaining about 5 to 10% of the tensile strength. The skin sutures on the face should be removed between 3 to 5 days, whereas the alternate sutures are removed on about 3rd day and the remaining sutures are removed after more 2 days. Intraorally, if we talk about, the mucoperiosteal closure without tension comes in 5 to 7 days, so it is removed after 5 to 7 days. In case of OF, that is oroantral fistula, where the tension is present between the sutures, it is removed in 7 to 10 days. A good guide is that as soon as the suture begins to get loose, it should be taken out. Now, what are the principles of suture removal? The area first of all should be swept with hydrogen peroxide for removal of encrusted any debris, blood and serum from the sutures. A sharp and a suture scissors should be used to cut the loops of the sutures around the teeth. A cotton plier is used to remove the sutures, and sutures should be removed within 7 to 10 days to prevent epithelialization or wicking of the suture. What are the possible complications of leaving sutures for more days? It can be creating a surgical abscess, a sutures carrying a stitch mark, or an implanted dermoid cyst. Now, what are the new methods of wound closure? Nowadays, we can use, apart from sutures, the ligating clips, skin staples are present nowadays, and the surgical tape or the surgical adhesives like cyanoacrylate. So that's all for suturing techniques.